In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make Concertina wire in Blender. In addition to barbed wire, you'll find both objects in many places, including farms, gates, and walls across Jamaica and the Caribbean. While the term barbed wire is often used interchangeably, actual barbed wire consists of straight strands of metal with small barbs spaced evenly along it. On the other hand, Concertina wire, or razor wire, is essentially sharp wire that's coiled into circular loops, forming a more impenetrable barricade. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create that iconic coil effect, the blades, the post, and also how to texture it, all in Blender. Let's begin. The first thing we're going to start off by doing is let's model the post and the pole. So we're going to bring in a plane by pressing Shift A, Mesh, and Plane. And then we'll scale it down to about here. I'll go into top view. We essentially would like a rectangle, so let's just scale it on the x-axis and the y-axis until we get our desired result. And I'll go into side view as well and then raise it up a bit and then just rotate it. It's on the x, that should be okay. Going back to front view, and let's just zoom in a bit more. We want a loop cut in the middle. So we'll press Ctrl R, loop cut, click it off, and then Ctrl B to bevel, and then just move it out. I want the middle to be slightly bigger than the two ends. Then we are going to select everything by pressing A and then extruding this out like this. Go back into front view and then hit the ends. We're going to face select for that, and then we'll extrude it down again. We're gonna need some loop cuts all the way down the entire thing, so we're just gonna hit Ctrl R again, scroll the mouse wheel, we can click off. In the dialog box, I would think about let's do 27 should be all right. Let's minimize this and go into face select. For here, I want to select every other. I can also do every two. So we're just gonna start 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we'll go all the way down. Perfect. And then we want to do the other side. Let's just flip this around to here. I can also hit Control and numpad for the back orthographic view. And let's do the same thing. When you have all these selected, you're going to want to press X and delete faces. So now you have a cutout on both sides. But what you want to do is you want to fill here and here. You want to fill it so it goes all the way around. This is where Loop Tools comes in. It is very easy to install and should take you no time. So to do so, we're going to hit Edit, Preferences, and Get Extensions. And let's start by just typing in Loop. And Loop Tools will come up. I already have it installed, so there's no install button here, but for you, there should be one here. Just hit install. It'll take no time to download. Just go to add-ons just to make sure that it's okay. Scroll down here and hit save preferences. Once that is done, we can continue with the tutorial. If you hold Option or Alt and hit this vertice, then it will just select everything in line. And then you want to do the same thing on the other side. Just make sure everything's selected. And then with Loop Tools, you can right click Loop Tools Bridge and see everything is filled in. If you did not have Loop Tools, what you can also do is you can select the vertices that face each other. And let's just do it in X-ray view so that we see what we're doing. And then hit F. It'll fill in, and then if you hit F again, it'll fill everything next to it. F, F, F. Going back into solid view, there you go. You can do this, but save a bit of time. I would encourage going into Loop Tools and just doing Bridge. And so I will do that for the rest of the pole. All right, so with all of our faces filled up, we want to duplicate this on the other side. At some point I realized that screencast keys were off. Sorry about that. I had to make a second recording. They will be turned on shortly. The origin is right here in the middle, so we want to move it up to the top so that it mirrors correctly. Let us go into edit mode, select everything, and then move it down. Move it down to about here. That's all right. Then go into object mode. We'll put it back in the middle, like so. And let's go into the mirror modifier. Let's add, search, mirror. It's flipping on itself right now and being the x-axis, so let's just go x. Ah, yeah, of course. I think, you know, doing all of this activity, you might want to rotate, rotation and scale and origin to geometry. Well, I just need to rotation and scale. That should do it. Yeah, I think that's it for now. And the final thing for this post is we want to do like a base. So the 3D cursor is where we need it to be, which is great. And so we'll just add a cube. Shift A, mesh, and then cube. We don't want anything complicated. It doesn't need to be too pretty, just something that kind of functions. So it's not like you don't have these two things just sticking out of nowhere. Let's just move everything up a bit. And then now we can scale this down so that it flushes or that it touches the fence. That should be all right. And for here, I just want to, I'll do a loop cut up here. That's about it. We'll go into transparent mode. Oh yeah, while I'm at it, let me just put screencast keys on so that everything can follow what I'm doing. Let's move into face select. We'll select everything here and then Alt E to extrude along normals. Why is it not extruding? This is weird. Maybe I should just maybe origin and geometry. Let's try that again. We'll do Alt E, extrude along normals. That is perfect. We'll do that right there. Okay, right, let's move that up, and that is perfect. And the next thing is we want to kind of put these all together so that they're one object. So we'll apply the mirror and select both of them and hit Ctrl J. That's good. And origin to geometry. Wonderful. So now we can go into front view and then place these across our fence. Usually you do Shift D to duplicate, but I will do Alt D so that it just makes a mirror of it. So not an actual duplicate, but just an image of it. I'm not really sure what that's called. I should probably look that up. Right, this is looking good so far, but everything to me is a bit too straight. You kind of want to have a bit of variation just to, you know, make it look like there's been a bit of wear and tear and that it's been sitting there not since yesterday. So how we're going to do that is, let's select everything. Origin to geometry, rotation and scale. And what we want to do is we want to randomly transform them. So we'll go up here to object. And in transform, there's random transform. And with that dialog box open, we can use the rotation on the Z and just slightly turn that a bit. It doesn't have to be too much. We can also use the Y. To start with the coil, we're going to first need a circle. So let's press Shift A. Mesh and circle. For the dialog, we can leave it, can do 64, I think that's all right. Let's rotate it 90 degrees and then just shift it down. And then going into side view, you want to gauge how big you want it. Looking at my images, my references is about like this. This should be okay. We can resize it later, but this is just an approximate. And then first thing we're going to do is go into edit mode. So you want to hit this one here that is across from the origin and then hit Ctrl I to invert that selection and then delete the vertices right there. And so you're going to be left with this vertice right here. Let's just put it back to where it was. Let's go into front view. And now we're going to need a screw modifier to get that twirly shape. So we'll go up to here, add modifier, search, and screw modifier. Once the screw modifier is there, let's go to screw. This one should be okay. With the iterations, you can repeat it. And then with that, you can gauge how much you want it or how wide. Let's just do the screw. It should be okay, I think. Once you decide the kind of the approximate size that you want, you can also scale it on the x-axis, scale it on the y-axis. Sorry, on the z-axis, but for now I'll just leave it at this. Let us apply the modifier. So apply that. I think the next thing you want to do is actually a subsurface, just to give it a bit more curvature, because this right here is not looking good. We can go into the modifiers, search, and then subdivision, and that is looking okay. Let's apply it. Perfect. Again, let's rotation scale and set origin to geometry. Now, this is not a necessary detail, but I just like to put it in there anyways. Let's just move it up a bit. I like to kind of make the coils complete. And to do that, we just want to borrow some vertices here, or borrow some vertices here and then copy them over to here. So it starts here and then we want it to end here. So let's just press C, do that right there. Let's deselect that one. Press Shift D to duplicate it and move it over just so that it hits. We select everything, press M to merge, and then by distance, it's not picking it up. So let's try, oh, that's a bit too much. Let's try 0.5. Nope. We'll go up to 1 and see if that works. You just need to experiment with this a bit more. There we go. All right, so it's at 5. And we'll do the same thing over here. I recorded myself doing the same thing on the other side, but in the end just deleted it, so I'll just decide to skip that part. Let's do again, origin to geometry, rotation and scale. All right, so let us then model the blade. So let us put the cursor here, so Shift S, cursor to selected, and let's get in a plane. Go into object mode, let's press Shift A, mesh plane. Let's scale it in like this. Actually, first thing, let's rotate it, scale it. So we're going to go into edit mode. Let us do a loop cut here in the middle, and then Control B to bevel. That should be about right. And then press Shift S and scale that in. And let's do one in the actual middle of that. And then with that still selected, Shift S and then scale it on the Y-axis. And let's just crush everything down. That should be all for your blade, but the only other detail that I want to do is just extrude it just a little bit, just to give it some thickness. That should be enough. Perfect. And there is your blade. The next thing you want to do is you want to put an array on this and then also have it follow the curve. We have modifiers for that. So we can first add a array. So we'll search array. Let's just space it out a bit. And then we are going to put in a curve modifier. This right now is a mesh, and luckily we can convert this to a mesh. So we'll go to object, convert to curve, and then what you want to do is you want to hit this eyedropper and then just click here. But let's see what happens when we do that. Usually when you do that, this thing flies all over the place, and then you have to, it takes a very long time to actually get it to follow this curve. What I have found to do is to actually make sure that the origins match up. Once the origins match up, then everything should be okay. So first thing that we want to do is we want to put this object over to this origin. So we will go here, press Shift S, cursor to selected, and it'll snap to where the origin is. And then you want this to snap over here. So we'll press Shift S, selection to cursor. Once this is on the same, matching the same origin as the curve object, 99% of the time it works. I'm hoping for this video that it actually does work. Let's hope it does its thing. So we'll hit the pipet again, the eyedropper, and then bada boom. So it starts here, and then all you can do is let's expand this array, and there you go to the end. So now we have our blades all matched up, all lined up, and that is perfect. Similar to how we transformed these posts to make them look a bit more real and weathered, we can do the same thing with the razor. First thing you want to do is you want to apply everything. So let's apply both modifiers and then go into edit mode. And everything is selected right now. So what you want to do is you want to press P, separate by loose parts. And what you want to do is you want to give it its own origin. So we'll go back into object mode, rotation and scale, and then set everything origin to geometry so that everything now has its own origin. And then what we can do is we can go to object, transform, randomize transformation, and then we can do a bit of magic with that. And that should be it for the razors. We don't have to touch them again. The last thing that we want to do is give this wire some thickness while it's still in curve mode. You want to go down here to data and then scroll down to geometry, and where it says rounds and the depth, you just want to give that a little bit. So let's just touch this. See, okay, this is way too much. So let's bring that down a bit. Let's see, to 5. That is still way too much. So let's bring this down to, let's say, 0.5. Let's see how that looks. That is actually looking not bad, quite like that. And so we can actually convert this back to a mesh. So let's do that, convert to mesh. Let's just box select everything because we want it to be one object, right? And then we can press Ctrl J to join. Right, so now we have our wire, everything is connected, and what we can do is we can move it down to here. Of course, we want these things to match so that it goes in line with here. We can easily do that with proportional editing. Before I do that though, let's make a duplicate so that we have something out the way. I like to, when I make something, just kind of have a duplicate so that I have something to come back to just in case. So let's turn on proportional editing first by pressing O on the keyboard. And then we'll select a vertex while we're in edit mode, and then just press G and Z to bring it down just a little bit. That's all right. What you can do in this point is just select on random vertices and bring those down so that it goes down. That's all right. You can also zoom in and kind of move things around a bit just to kind of give it that wear and tear. Twist it like that. Style it how you would like, and that's perfect. And what I'd like to do is actually like to duplicate it so that it has a bit more, I don't know, just a bit more presence to it. So let's duplicate, raise it up a bit. Let's check it from the side. Let's rotation scale, and then we can rotate it on its axis. And that is perfect. So there is your wire. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put on a simple shader on this, just to make it look metallic. So let's go into rendered mode. I just have a simple HDR on it just to give it a bit of light. I'm going to open another window for the shader editor. And let's just hit new. It's going to be a very basic one. It's just a gray metallic color. So we can bring this down a little bit. And then let's put the metallic up a little bit, and then the roughness. Just zoom in and look at it. That should be all right. We want to apply this shader to everything, so we can select this, basically select everything first that we want to apply, and then select the last one with the shader on it, and then Control L, link, and then we'll go down to link materials, and everything should have the same material. And this is how you create a razor wire or a Concertina wire in Blender. You can find a link to download the blend files in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you so much for watching.